should be taken, or whether these projects are not so profitable and should be perhaps rejected. And you might work also with engineers and other specialists, so in a team. Basically, the key decision for a corporation is in which projects to invest, because those projects then basically determine the value of the company and the overall success of the business. Another part, or apart from this most important investment decisions, I would say second most important are financing decisions. That is how you raise money, how you raise capital. So usually money comes from investors, from shareholders, from bondholders, from banks. And as a CFO, you might need to make decisions how to source this money. Should you take a loan, or should you issue bonds? Should you issue shares, etc. So together, financing and investment decisions would be the core of your job as a CFO or treasurer. Of course, there are other functions like control, working with accountants, that you have the source of information from the accounting statement. From internal accounting, internal audits, things like that. So there are many jobs in finance that you could have within a corporation, and very often that corporation would be non-financial corporation. Let me switch now to investments. Investments means that you might work for as an asset manager for asset management company, private equity company. Basically, you represent some investors and you look for projects where to invest, but you are not part of the management, you are not part of the company. So you basically buy some shares of publicly traded company, but you are still outsider to that company. You are not the manager, you're just outside investor. And there are many examples of these investment strategies. There could be completely passive strategies where you just invest in index. There could be more active strategies. There are people like Warren Buffett that invest, acquire control, change management, restructure the company, sell the company, things like that. So there are many career options being an investor. Not only career options, it's also possibly you may start your own business. So it's not only employment opportunities, but also business opportunities or personal wealth opportunities. So that's the second major area. And then you have specialized services like investment banking with advisory services to the companies that issue securities, for example, or valuation projects when one company wants to acquire or wants to buy another company, and that they ask some advisors to help them to determine how much should they pay, and things like that. And of course, I also mentioned insurance companies that have slightly different business. Commercial banking is usually also a little bit different area where you take deposits from people and you make loans to companies, etc. And finally, I should also mention government jobs. So there are institutions like central bank, like Ministry of Finance, etc. The finance skills are valued also in government and in the supranational organizations, World Bank, International Monetary Fund, Asian Development Bank, all kinds of institutional companies that work in the area of finance. So overall, to finish this part, I think it's a very exciting field. It's a very interesting career. It's definitely not boring. It's challenging. It gives you a lot of personal satisfaction, and it can also bring you a significant personal wealth. I think we covered these career options. And now, what makes a successful finance specialist? How do you succeed in that? Well, maybe I should simply now say you should just apply to our MSF program, and we teach you all that you need. But of course, there are many other ways. There are MBA programs where you can specialize in finance, or you can even be a self-learner. You can be an engineer and study finance on your own. But if you want to really have a systematic education in finance, and you want to go through standard curriculum, globally valid curriculum, then very often students, not only in Kazakhstan, again globally, would opt for a degree, a specialized degree, which is Master of Science in Finance. So out of all available degrees, this degree is most focused on finance, and it's reasonably short, intensive, and practical. It starts with some quantitative aspects, statistics, econometrics, basic mathematics, that of course many things you need to calculate. Finance is about numbers, but it's not only about numbers, so later you will have all kinds of courses like corporate finance, investments, investment banking, where you will actually learn how these things are done. In our courses, professors are international, but also many professors have significant local experience. I've spent already 8 years in Kazakhstan. I speak fluent Russian. I talk to companies, to businesses. I bring those examples to the classroom. I also bring guest lecturers from all over Kazakhstan. Recently, we had virtually last week we had one guest speaker from Citibank talking about bond issuances, another speaker from Kazina Capital Management, which is a major sovereign private equity fund in Kazakhstan. So these are top-level finance specialists who basically come to our classes and talk to the students. What do you need to succeed? Of course, you need to have some I don't want to say you don't need to be Albert Einstein, but you should feel comfortable with mathematics. If mathematics is something that you never liked and you never wanted to do, then I would say finance is not for you. But if you are okay with mathematics, and you don't have to be again a rocket scientist or genius, I'm definitely not a mathematician, but I just know how to apply mathematics. And I also have other tools like Microsoft Excel, where I can model various problems. And even if I don't know analytical solution to a problem, I can basically come to numerical solution using Excel, for example. So as long as you feel comfortably with numbers, say on the level of GMAT or GRE, and if you have reasonably good score there, then I think you meet necessary requirements. And of course, we expect that people who apply to our program are really interested in finance. You follow financial markets, you follow the news, business news, you understand about companies in Kazakhstan, globally. You already know a little bit about some basic securities. You may read local newspapers like Capital or Forbes. You may understand some basic things, how to run a business, etc. Or you also, not to forget, you also understand a little bit macroeconomics. So when central bank makes some announcement, or the government makes some announcements, when journalists write about some economic news, you should have some basic understanding what's going on. You should also already know some basic terminology. And we also give applicants a list of topics that they should basically prepare before coming for an interview. So we list those topics there. So how to apply? Next slide is how to successfully apply to the MSF program at Nazarbayev University. So we do not require work experience. We require 2 letters of recommendation. So if you don't have work experience, these would be from your professors, ideally professors of quantitative disciplines like mathematics, statistics, etc. We want 2 essays in English, and the questions are basically given. In those essays, we want to see that you already understand basically why you want to study finance. The motivation again is very important. We will definitely try to sort out students who just want to apply because they think they can get a scholarship or something. We want to see people who are genuinely interested in finance, and believe me, we can tell quite quickly whether somebody is interested or not during the interview. Then we want, but 2 essays, that's the starting point. CV in English, of course, diplomas and transcripts where your GPA should be above 2.67. You need to either take IELTS or TOEFL, or you need to be a graduate from English-speaking university. Of course, our program is entirely in English. And you need to take GMAT or GRE, which can be taken here in Astana or in Almaty. There are many different time slots for that. We accept any, for GRE we expect both paper-based score or computer score, and on those tests we pay attention to the quantitative score. So I guess that's it regarding admissions requirements. Job and business prospects. I actually started, I think, with this slide when I was talking about the different fields in finance, because in some sense I understand that that's probably what you have in mind. That's most important on your mind at this stage. You want to apply to the program because you think about your future job. And we said this could be CFOs or treasurers. Well, it doesn't mean that you will graduate and will become immediately a CFO. There might be some career path to that, but that could be a target position for you. You can work in commercial banks. You can work in investment banks. You can work at Astana International Financial Center or KASEK, Kazakhstan Stock Exchange. Institutions like that. Also, since we offer scholarships through National Bank, the scholarship recipients will be required to work at national banks for 3 years, and if you enjoy that career, you can of course stay with the national bank. I think job prospects are good. We expect, of course, now I'm just speculating, but I would expect ongoing privatization in Kazakhstan, ongoing push for industrialization. There is this President Nazarbayev's goal to become the 30 most developed nations by 2050, and believe me, finance specialists will be highly needed and required to achieve that goal. So I think job prospects are really good in Kazakhstan as well as abroad, or working for a foreign company in Kazakhstan. Next slide. Upcoming events. So on February 22nd, there will be a meeting with National Bank. There will be National Bank HR Director Aybek Kunayev here at Nazarbayev University. So if you can come, please come. It will be interesting, informative meeting where you can learn all kinds of details about the scholarship that the National Bank offers, or about the careers in National Bank. So maybe we can now move to questions, if there are any.
Thank you, Professor Marek. I think this was very helpful to our prospective applicants to know where will the MSF degree will bring them in the future, and what kind of jobs they can do in the future. Dear participants, we are very happy to answer to your questions. Please feel free to send your questions to our chat and we'll answer you. You may also ask questions regarding the registration to the program and some admission requirements. Yes, please, Doctor.
Yeah, I didn't mention the courses. Maybe that's something I could mention actually.
I've shared the link.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
So they can
That's,
just find
yeah.
Well, I would like to go through the major changes in our admission regulations this year. As you may all know already, that starting from this year, we only accept GRE and GMAT certificates. And please be informed that the online registration to this program will be till March 28th, but you can still send your IELTS, TOEFL, GRE, GMAT certificates till April 15th, so we'll be still receiving your scores. So Tokhtar is asking a question.
Yes, yes.
So now he wants to apply, I guess, to the MSF program, but he doesn't have a finance background, so he's bachelor.
So, can you tell me in which field is your bachelor degree? Can you write it down? History. Okay, so in principle, I would say, you know, we will not, history is not really related to finance, right? But we will not eliminate you. It's not that you cannot apply. You can apply, but you know, there is a high demand. We will select the best students, and we want to see your genuine and ongoing, lasting interest in finance. You already have something in your mind. You know why you want to study it. And we will verify this. So we will verify this by asking questions about all kinds of recent developments in the world and in Kazakhstan. We will give you some short exercises to value some things, etc. And we will look at the way of thinking. And frankly, if you just think, okay, I have undergraduate degree and I don't know what to do, and finance looks like there is some money, and therefore I will apply, and you just come, I think you will fail this application process. But if you start preparing, and I'm not saying why you know, as somebody who graduating in history can develop his interest over time to economics and finance, and if you persuade me that this is the case, and if you also persuade me that you know well mathematics, statistics, you can do calculations, you have good GMAT score, I wouldn't have a problem with that. Okay, now I see the next questions about working experience. You know, the program that we have has been designed with the National Bank. The National Bank scholarship recipients will most likely work at National Bank. That's why one of the residencies is with the National Bank. Actually, we just had, you know, now we have the first year of the program, and I was with the students in Almaty. And so I participated in those 2 weeks in all the lectures, and they were really interesting. Even for me, I learned many new things, how National Bank, you know, looks at things, how they regulate some macroeconomic, how they regulate the economy, how they gather data, all kinds of methodological things, aspects. And I was very pleasantly surprised that they have real specialists, very highly educated people who know what they are doing. So basically, you know, that's one residency is with National Bank, because National Bank is the sponsor. But the second residency is only 2 weeks, you are right, and it's partly because we want you to graduate as soon as possible. You know, the country needs you. AIFC is now being opened. They need graduates, they will need people, so we cannot keep it too long. Also, you don't want to be studying for too long. You want probably to get to your job quickly. And second reason, there are cost aspects. If we offer, you know, half-year study somewhere abroad, that would be very, very expensive. So at the moment it's like this, and I think it's better than nothing. These 2 weeks in London, we will have the first residency in London in June. I will be again accompanying students. They will be taking investment banking course. There will be some site visits, guest speakers. I already arranged several guest speakers who are actually Kazakhstani, who work in London in financial sector with the major finance companies. So it will be very intensive, practical, useful, but you're right, it's not very long. Because this is the first year, regarding, so your next question, what do you consider a good GMAT score? Because this is the first year we require GMAT, and there are many reasons why we require GMAT. First of all, we want some objective tests because, you know, some GPAs from certain schools are questionable, etc. So we want something really objective. Second, we will strive for accreditation. Accreditation usually needs some history, so accreditation won't be received now this year or next year. But at some point, you know, after 3 or 5 years, we will be asking for accreditation like AACSB accreditation, and they definitely want to see that we use standard tests for admissions. But this year, because we are starting, we do not have a minimum score. Actually, if you look at programs around the world, they don't tell you minimum score. They may tell you average score of the applicants, but we don't have that yet, right? So the year after next year, we will already know your average score, but now we don't have this average score. That's why we don't say anything. Yeah, we again, those with the better scores will have higher chance of admissions. It's not only the score that matters. If you have really high score, you might be admitted straight away. Of course, we still look at your GPA and all the documents, but what I mean straight away is without the interview. If we have many applicants with good score and you have very low score, maybe you will not be then invited for interview. So it really depends on the relative quality of applicants that we receive. We hope to have good quality of applicants, but of course we need to be realistic. We are also in some sense a startup, new program, quite new university. Therefore, we have to be realistic. We don't expect the top and really the super top students to apply. Maybe those super top students go to study abroad, but we still hope to get reasonably strong candidates and increase the average GMAT over time, over years. So another question. You mentioned requirements, but what is your main focus? I know I don't see everything there in the window. You mentioned requirements, but what is your main focus? I know you have already mentioned, but can you go through them one more time? Well, first of all, it's on our webpage, right? So these kind of things you don't need to now write down or anything. But it's no work experience required, 2 letters of recommendation, 2 essays in English. The questions are provided on the webpage. CV in English, diploma and transcript from your undergraduate program, GPA minimum 2.67. 6.5 of IELTS or TOEFL or graduation from English-speaking university. So Nazarbayev University, for example, would qualify. GMAT and GMAT or GRE with no minimum score. At this stage, it will be relative ranking of applicants, basically. We will compare the scores that we receive. Next question. Opinion about Islamic banking and the future Islamic banking. So of course we are in Kazakhstan, in the region where this is important, and maybe even globally it's important. It's a big part of finance. A lot of money is many projects are financed through Islamic finance. So we definitely pay attention to this. We have elective course in Islamic banking and finance. So yes, it's part of the course. I wouldn't call our MSF program like completely Islamic finance. No, we provide a standard global MSF program, and as many MSF programs around the world, we provide electives in Islamic finance for those who want to specialize in this field. We had some very top Islamic finance guest speakers. I So it's also, we also introduce students to Islamic finance through practitioners, through major authors of books on Islamic finance, etc. Regarding future of Islamic banking, again, I think there is definitely a future. It will probably also develop. There are some, different approaches, different products, instruments. Islamic finance is developing even in the United States. So United States is the major financial market still. So I think definitely this topic is important, and we do address it here at Nazarbayev University. No, the question, is it possible to combine work and classes in the MSF? No, this is a full-time day program. You won't have time for any work.
Either you will drop a class or you will drop from the job.
Okay, we thank you for listening to us, and we hope to see you soon at the interview.